All right, we're going to go ahead and reconvene this meeting.
All right, good morning. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to introduce you to the Breezy Point City Council and Mayor. Today we have about 15 questions for you. We're going to go through the gamut of questions, and so we'll go ahead and do a quick little introduction of the council, and then we'll go ahead and start with the interview questions. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, welcome. I'm Mayor Todd Rogenkamp.
Michael Maroney.
Steve Jensen.
Rebecca Ball.
And just to add real quick, thank you on behalf of the city for coming and interviewing with us today. We're looking forward to sitting here and visiting. So Mike's going to handle all the questioning, and we'll be just taking some notes, so don't mind us, but we felt it was easier that way for him to do the questions, and we're not worrying about other things, and we can kind of focus on what your answers are. So, all right.
Very good. I'm going to go ahead and get started then. So the first question is about fiscal management. Fiscal management expertise is a critical function of this role. What are your skills in this area, and what techniques have you followed to manage municipal funded funds effectively?
Yeah, I currently oversee almost $1 million worth of budgets with the city of Thief River Falls. I have about 10 different budgets between operation and capital improvement. Besides the economic and community development side of planning side of things, I oversee the city hall maintenance and capital improvement for city hall, the historic Carnegie, and the public library. Last spring, I put together a Excel spreadsheet for the city administrator to distribute to the department heads to start to track some of the capital improvements that their needs are for each of those departments, so that we have a better, more up-to-date capital improvement plan in place. As far as budgeting goes, you know, it's history and the biggest. Thank you. The biggest challenge is that I have found with small communities is capital improvement plans. They, even from the standpoint of a larger city like Thief River Falls at 8,500, we don't have roofs, and building roofs included in capital improvement orders. So we're going to be bonding this year, probably. Talking to the city administrator for new roofs. We have a liquor store and a public library that both have flat, leaky roofs, and you're looking at $170,000 per roof. So with that and our Ralph Ingolstead Arena project, it'll be about $1 million, I think, that we're going to bond for.
Okay.
Any follow-ups? Okay.
All right. Next question is about under the category of conflict resolution. So can you tell us about a time when you had to navigate a division in your board over an issue? And what was that issue, and what was your role? And did you try to build consensus, or did you just stay out of the issue?
It's tough for me not to get involved and try to educate and get to a solution. I'm dealing right now with a controversy, with Thief River Falls. I have a communications company owner that wants to build a 350-foot tower in the city limits. Our ordinance calls for 200 max height. Because it's self-inflicted, it's not doesn't qualify for variance. Planning and Zoning Commission, which is chaired by a competing communications company, my chair, passed on to council to change the city ordinance to 365 feet. It went to city council. We had the public hearing and was then brought up on new business. And even though I had gone to, had been discussed at both the admin committee and public works committee, which includes the mayor and all city council members, and actually has to be forwarded on from public works to council, there was no motion. Mayor called for a motion twice or 3 times, and nobody would make a motion. So it died, and one of the councilmen was not there in attendance, and the mayor was upset, and so we had discussions last Tuesday at admin committee. The vice mayor had brought up the public works director, who was in opposition to this, and had him speak during the public hearing part of it. So the mayor was accusing my planning commission chair, the vice mayor, and public works director of being in collusion to stop this. And anyway, it went. We had the conditional use permit, because that's required for towers, for a 200-foot tower on the agenda last night, and the councilman that wasn't there tabled it, and so yeah, in 2 weeks, I guess. Well, and all the councilmen, people that were against, or didn't want to make a motion to bring up the change in the policy, or whatever, they all voted yes to table it. So, kind of in a weird situation. And then the mayor's father is on my planning and zoning commission, and he resigned last week over this issue, because he thought there was collusion going on. So that's kind of the controversy I'm dealing with right now to work through, and it's just a matter of going back to my high school physics. I talked to an engineer of some sort. One of the concerns is on a 350-foot tower, how far ice that would form on the tower, how far it would fly off the tower. It's in an industrial park, but right across the street is mobile home, and residential. So there's those things to weigh on. So like I said, it's just a matter of getting the facts and having that discussion, and it's ultimately it's council's decision, and all I can do is provide the best information.
Follow up? We're good? Okay, Mike.
All right, under community involvement can you give me an example of how you make your direct reports feel a sense of inclusion, belonging on a daily basis?
I'm always, greeting my employees in the morning, trying to, allow them to take ownership of their position and projects. So, I welcome their feedback, their input. I'm not always the expert in a sense. I want their opinion. If they have another opinion on a different way of doing it or a better way of doing something, let's hear about it. Let's talk about it. And if it seems like it would be a better way of doing it, let's try it.
Okay. So the next question we have then is, what do you see as the most challenging aspect of working with a diverse group of people who may be seasonal residents as well? And what steps have you taken to meet this challenge?
I've worked in a lot of touristy areas in my career. It's just communication. It's what can we put in place to have the best communication with these folks, that people are getting the message. I think, as I told staff earlier, it's making sure that our staff and council, that we're all speaking as one. That we have the speaking points on any issues, so that nothing breeds distrust and makes people question what's going on. If the mayor's saying one message, I'm saying another, and the chief or somebody else is saying another message, kind of thing. So it's just making sure that we're all on the same page, and that we're working as a team.
All right, under the economic development umbrella that we have here, can you discuss your expertise with grant writing, managing grant applications, process, or securing alternative funding sources?
When I worked as the community development coordinator in Mille Lacs County, I did about 6 or 7 economic development studies, in the process of laying the information side of things to write an economic development plan for the county. Each of those had to be grant funded. I had 50% of those were grant funded, and then I had to go to the county board and ask them to reallocate funds, because there was no budget for that kind of stuff. So everything got reallocated then to help pay for the other portion of those projects. Yeah, I've written numerous grants over my career, I guess, for things.
Have you ever been involved in any sort of state legislative appropriations or working in regards to securing grants that way or trying to partner with your CASA state aid roads?
No, I haven't had to do the CASA state aid road stuff. I have done some legislative lobbying over the years with some of my past positions.
Okay.
And I just, working with the former mayor, Thief River Falls just hired the former mayor to lobby for $1 million for out of the heritage funds to put on our city hall as a historic train depot and the historic Carnegie. We have about $750,000 at City Hall and another $250 at the Carnegie of capital improvements that need to be done to those buildings, and so to try to avoid that tax burden, we're currently lobbying to try to get that bill included.
Into the bonding bill.
Put together the books, I think, next Wednesday. Right now I think is when we're set to go. We were going to go today, but next week.
Okay, under the HR umbrella that we have here, the city has experienced leadership changes in the last several months and is dedicated to establishing a stable and healthy working environment. How would you approach promoting and collaborating culture and a healthy organizational culture?
You know, we're one team. Again, it's communication. 80% of the most issues are lack of communication. So, you know, as I told staff earlier this morning, it's, you know, I want their input. You know, I mean, we're here to serve, you know, the council directive. So, you know, hopefully you're doing, you know, committee of the whole meetings, you know, with council every so often, and you know, that's the time to talk about some of these projects and have staff and council all give their input and make a decision of how we go with some of these major projects.
All right, so the next question we have for you is, can you provide an example of a time when you managed or were part of a team that was not working well together? What were you able to do to get the team back on track and work cohesively?
Wow. Trying to think of a good example, I guess, of when I had a team that wasn't. You know, I mean, I've worked with a lot of groups. You know, right now I'm a co-chair of the Minnesota Design Team. So if you're familiar with that program at all, you know, we come in on a Thursday night. There's like 15 volunteers that are there, you know, and we just, I was co-lead over here at the Cuyuna Lakes visit we did last May, and, you know, so we had 15, and now those 15, about 8 or 10 of those were brand new, never been on a visit before. So, you know, and we have very little time because it's like, you know, they're meeting families and going back with their host families on Thursday night, so we get together on Friday morning, and then we're bombarded with community information, lunch, a bus tour of the community, you know, and put together our 5 or 6 questions, and dinner and presentation Friday night, and then Saturday is when we start to draw our storyboards and prepare our presentation to the community for Saturday night kind of thing. And so, you know, in that short period of time to take this group of virtually unknown to each other, you know, and try to bring that cohesiveness of a team, whatever. And I think it was one of the, I've been on several visits, so we're at about 5 or 6 now, and led a few of them, and that was by far the most fun I've ever had. I mean, that team just, everybody just gelled, and it was like, you know, just seemed like friendships were formed like overnight.
Okay, the next question we have is under project management umbrella. So tell us about your experience in developing a community strategic plan with your elected officials for a 5 to 10 year community roadmap and vision for the future.
You know, I guess I've been part of some of the communities I've worked in. I always was the exec director for nonprofits or whatever, so a lot of it was as far as putting together strategic plans for nonprofits is what I've done a lot of. As far as being part of the community input on strategic plans, Mille Lacs County, I guess in 2013 when I started there, I mean my position was in the strategic plan to be created. I got hired in March and they didn't approve their strategic plan until October. So I got involved in some of that community input sessions for that strategic plan.
All right, the next question we have for you under working relationships is what experience do you have in coordinating the development, financing, and implementation of capital projects and improvements within your organizations and with other organizational agencies?
Oh, there's a lot of parts to that question.
Yeah, so first to break it down then, what is your experience coordinating development and financing and implementing of capital projects or improvements? How did you go about securing the funding and the resources to manage that?
I've had a few of those projects, I guess. You know, I'll go back 20 years ago when I was chamber exec up in Houghton, Michigan. The city had talked for 10 years about buying this travel business at the start of Main Street for the new chamber office. I always said it was too small. When I got hired, they had bought the building, and so we did the build out for that building, and when all the new carpet and windows and everything went in place and we had this beautiful building, the city administrator said, "Yep, I ran out of funds, Richard. You're gonna have to move your old furniture up there," which consists of those old wooden desks that have been carved on and steel desks and things like that. I was fortunate to have two office furniture sales reps that were in Rotary with me, and I went to both of them, and I managed to get $10,000, $5,000 out of each of them of cubicles and conference room table and office for my office furniture, and that donated. Capital improvement stuff. The Carnegie Library, old historic library. We have our chamber and our visitor center in Thief River Falls. It was remodeled in 2012. So for 12 years, whatever. Underneath the front steps is a storage room. It's been leaking for 12 years, and nobody's taking care of the leak, whatever, and it leaked, and the chairs that were stored in there got moldy on, and I went out and got the bid. It was like $2,800 to tear out my maintenance guy had been patching the cement on the railings and stuff like that, and I hired a masonry guy to come in and chip all the way. The corner of the building had a chunk about 18 inches by 6 by 6 kind of thing of that chunk falling off the corner and cracks in window sills, and it was just going out getting those pricing and figuring out where we can pay for it and take care of the fixing on that stuff. So I did that. I had a loading dock at the public library. They literally the masonry guy grabbed this wall, like 15-foot long wall, and like these 3 courses of block, or they just grabbed it by hand, just pulled it right off. I mean, that's how loose it was, and it had been hit by graders over the years, and nothing got fixed. So I mean, I've came in and started, we're under remodeling at the city hall also, and at the public library, but I've taken care of some of those other projects that just need to be done. Front door on City Hall, whatever, rusted out in the bottom, and I'm waiting for warmer weather. We've got a door on order, to come and replace it, but kind of waiting for construction to get done so it doesn't get dinged up and in warmer weather.
Richard, as a follow-up to that, for this direct question is, how about working with other governmental agencies to try to secure funding or collaborative programming to provide services to the community in which you served?
I've looked at, I worked with USDA Rural Development, worked with Indeed on programs and stuff to help other businesses and stuff. And so some of the USDA stuff was to help with government buildings, funding. And those are two that come to mind. Regional development commissions, we have a multi-county HRA that I'm working with right now to put together our downtown, so to do some facade fix-ups of the buildings, and also a lot of the buildings have apartments above that need refurbishing, or so they can be apartments. So working with applying this fall for some funding to hopefully get our downtown spruced up.
All right. Next question we have for you, this is a fun one for me, is what process or procedure do you follow to effectively communicate with the mayor, council, and your board members? And how do you keep them informed and avoid surprises?
Yeah, nobody likes to be surprised. I even tell my staff that, let me know ahead of time. Multiple ways, whether it's text messages, emails, phone calls, depending on what the issue is. I'm finding out that, sometimes a phone call is better than an email because of data privacy requests and stuff. But, yeah. It's kind of I love in-person conversation. Would be my first choice, but it's got to be quick and done. Make those calls.
Okay, the last two questions we have for you fall underneath the general questions. Do you have any reservations about serving as the Nix administrator? And what would be your steepest learning curve relating to the position?
I don't have any reservations. You've got a great staff that's got a lot of history, that can be drawn upon. So that is very enticing and a great plus for this community. My biggest learning curve, it would be just delving into your zoning ordinances. I find myself having to stop and check my ordinances before I give an answer, because I've worked at a couple of communities, and so sometimes I think there might be something in the ordinance, and oh no, that was my previous job. So that's probably the biggest challenge, and that just comes with working with them. It takes time.
Okay. Final standard question that we have for you is, what is the hardest thing that an administrator needs to do?
Say no. It's probably the hardest thing, and it's education, I guess, of staff, council, the community, citizens, it's themselves, of just educating folks on what the facts are, what the situation is. I mean, people come in with demands and emotions, and and it's not that we don't want to do it sometimes. It's just that we either can't, because of some state statute or something, or we can't do it because of the biggest thing is finances. It's just not feasible to do the project then. I mean, it's gonna take time to try to figure out how you're gonna finance it. How can if you can find federal or state funds to help ease that tax burden.
Okay. Are there any follow-up questions from the council?
Yes, I have one. As part of the online process, when you applied for the position, there was a question that was asked, have you been asked to resign or been terminated from employment? You had checked yes, and it was asked to explain, and there was 3 years, month and year, 11 of 2002, 12 2010, and 10 2020. Just if you could explain the
Sure.
circumstances.
My entire career has been either going in and starting brand new positions for organizations or going into struggling nonprofits, trying to turn them around. So I've butted heads with nonprofit boards quite a bit. Don't have the luxury of state statute and legal counsel to fall back on, when you're dealing with some of the nonprofit boards. So you can get some folks that want to ramrod things, whatever, and they don't like your your response to them, of what they need to do. I mean, that's why they're struggling financially and whatnot, is because they've been doing it this way for so long, and so it's tough to sometimes to get them to change. And when you're young and idealistic, you're kind of set in your ways. So I kind of butted some heads, but I've mellowed in my old age.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for the city council and mayor?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious of what your guys' vision is for the community in the next 5 or next 10 years.
Well, I'll allow the council to kind of give their own input, and then I can lead up with it. But do you want to start, Councilman Maroney? Got some ideas? Do you want to think about it a little bit?
Yeah, I want to think about it.
Anybody want to grab it out of the gate?
I'll just go quickly. I guess what comes to mind in the next 5-ish years is we have some of these capital improvement projects and plans going on. So roads, I think, is going to be a big focus in trying to fit all of that in the budget, and then sort of build on that year over year. So I think, in my mind, that's one of the biggest focus. And then I think we've talked about longevity for staff, so I would like to see that for the city. We've had just a lot of turnover in some areas of staffing for the city, so I think I would like to see, some longevity there.
Councilmember Jensen.
I agree with what Rebecca said. I mean, those are two very important pieces. Also, I think the city Parks and Rec wise is finally, we're looking towards what amenities does the community want? The focal point being around the city hall, and that's where, we have the most land. I think Rebecca covered what else. I don't think I have anything else. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I wrote down Parks and Rec to talk about that. We've got a very ambitious Park and Rec committee that's wanting to do a lot more and bring the amenities. And it's we need to define where the city's going to be going for the 5 to 10 years. We've changed as a city from seasonal. Now we have a lot more full-time residents, and we just need to grow with that. Where we used to be a vacation destination, we're now home, and we need to make sure that we're adapting to that.
Yeah, and I would echo what the council stated. We are a growing community. We're going to continue to grow, what level that is. But as we grow, that changes what we do, how we're defined, what we can provide to the community, what's in the best interest of the people that are here as a community as a whole. I echo the park piece. I think that's going to be a big one. I think a comprehensive plan with regards to the parks is going to need to be done. And I think the committee needs to be, thinking about that, and then the council is engaged at that as well. On top of that, we have a capital improvement plan now in place for our roads. You heard Councilmember Ball, roads are going to be a major thing. We've got a couple of road projects right now we're kind of working on. So it's an ongoing thing, and that's what you see when you have a growing community. So as Councilmember Maroney said, we're getting more full-time residents here. This is a place people want to be at. But yet we still have seasonal people here too. So there's the balance that has to happen there as well. So I think it's a comprehensive plan as a city. We have that in the hopper that we're going to have to look at. Planning and zoning ordinance update. We're looking at doing that as well. So there's a lot of things on the plate that's coming down the road in the next 5-10 years for the city that are going to take staff, time, council time, community time, and an invested involvement by all to make sure we get what's best for everybody. And best way we possibly can.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I always tell everybody, my philosophy has been is what you build for tourists is good for your citizens, and vice versa. What you build for your citizens also relates to tourism. It's having those trails, those amenities. When I was in Mille Lacs County, 12 years ago now, I guess it was, I submitted, I actually went and applied for and got on the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission for District 1. And I applied for 3 abandoned railroad beds that they had. The DNR trail, that was actually the Sioux Line Trail South, whatever. People didn't realize that the county was responsible for maintaining that wasn't funded by the DNR. So the Public Works Director had gotten a grant for 11 culverts underneath the trail, but I went out and applied for designation of that trail and 2 other abandoned railroad beds, with the hopes of being able to leverage that for grant funding to maintain or improve those and to develop 2 of those at least, and it wasn't, at the time I told this county administrator, I was like, I'm gonna get these on, in the program. I said, it might take us 20 years to convince, the county board to budget and spend some money, because some of that needed to be acquired, some, land, because it had been sold back to the owners. But anyway, so yes, I've been involved with that kind of stuff, and it'd be fun to work on it here in Breezy Point. The other question I guess I would have is, what will I have accomplished in the first year as your city administrator for you guys to consider me to be a great hire?
anybody want to take a stab at it first?
Well, I think we've kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
What we're working on is, completing that street improvement plan. Finally, I think we've kind of come to the conclusion with the capital improvement plan, but finalizing that now. Completing the City Hall project, making a final decision with where Bushman is and getting that project underway. The zoning court updates. I mean, we have a lot of coals in the fire right now, that those are going to be things that are going to be, if not accomplished by 1 year, very soon to be after that. And hiring staffing. I mean,
Yeah, because I was going to say it if you didn't say it.
these are
yes.
all things that are very important to us that we need to be on the forefront. And we're not a sleepy town. We're not doing anything. We've got a lot of projects, and it'll probably continue that way for a while.
You're due for a comp plan update, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's coming too as well. So, I mean, it's pick your amount and prioritize and decide which is most important and go from there. And that's what we're working on, is to do that. And we've kind of did that. I mean, you heard Councilman Maroney, we're pretty set in what we're thinking about, where we want to go and what we need to do. We just need to get there, and we need to have the right people in place to do that.
Yep.
And that's what we're attempting to get done. So,
Yeah, and a good capital improvement plan is so key. I can't tell you how many small cities in Minnesota are struggling financially because of lack of capital improvement plans, and they kick the can down the road on repairs and.
well, it's always easy to build it,
What's
but
that?
you got to remember how to take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really easy to build something, but it's a bigger challenge to make sure you're thinking about what's going to happen to whatever you built 15 or 20 years down the road. And so even if we're not here from there, the next council that's sitting here 20 years from now is not dealing with going, oh, what do we do now? Because there was no foreplanning or thought process put into that. So we're tackling all those things right now as a council as we move forward to make sure that the future is set for whoever is there in the future to handle that and not have to deal with that as much.
Yeah,
So-
and one of the challenges that, whether it's a city council or a nonprofit board or whatever, is accepting donations. The city of Thief River Falls accepted the Ralph Engelstad Arena, which is a fabulous sheet of ice up there, an arena, but the city spends between $750 to $1.2 million a year just to operate that, just to keep that thing afloat, so those are the things that sometimes get overlooked, with, oh, hey, we're gonna get this fabulous gift, but you forget about the maintenance down the
Exactly.
road.
Any other questions for us?
What one thing that do you have to leave town for that you wish was here in Breezy Point?
You want my answer? I'll start.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay.
Because I look at it as a greater community. Yeah, Breezy Point has its positives that we can bring, but there's other communities around us. There's Cross Lake, Nisswa, Pequot, Cross Barrington. I can go on and on. You know all the names of the little communities around here. We all bring something to the table.
Yep.
So how do we work together as a greater community to provide that to the people, not only of your community, but also other communities as well? And I think that's an ongoing challenge to do because everybody feels they want to have it all in their backyard. But there's something to be said about having it somewhere else and supporting each other as a whole. So that's my thought process. I'll let the other council members speak.
I would respond back to you saying that, people, the average commute time is 30 minutes, So, people work in a 30-mile radius, they shop in a 45-minute radius, and they recreate within a 2-hour radius.
Yep.
So from an economic development standpoint, that Friday night football rivalry needs to go away when we talk economically, as a region, you promote as a region, because it's like, yeah, this is what we have, and you can go 10, 20 miles down the road to this city, that city, and get this amenity. And so like you said, you work collaboratively, you promote as a region, and when you promote your city, you're promoting not only you, but here's the other amenities around us that you can enjoy by living here.
I can't really top that. I can't think of anything that I'd want here that is not within easeable driving.
I would say this is probably well known for myself in the city, but I mean, I would like to not to have to drive. I like other communities, but I would like more, more resources for kids in this town.
Okay.
So, but I know we've talked about that ad nauseum, so I won't go into it, but that's me.
Nothing to add.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity to interview and
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming in today and meeting with us, Richard. Our plan as a council is to do some considering today as where we're at with as far as the interviews and what our process is, and then hopefully making a decision here soon in the next couple days, hopefully,
Okay.
so that we can get something through Mike back to make a determination to kind of start the process of moving forward. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And like I said, any other information you may have that you want to share with us, feed it back through Mike and he'll get it to us. But otherwise, again, thank you very much for your time today. And I think does he have a tour coming up now too as well? No, he already did his. So you finished yours. All right. So yeah, again, thank you. Appreciate your time coming to see us today. And yeah, we'll go from there.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Whoops, I forgot I had this on.